Get mantra and meditation MP3s at jasongallant.ca.
Today I'd like to talk about authenticity. And when I say authenticity, I don't just mean telling the truth or people who tell lies a lot or act a role. Sometimes they don't even know they're doing it. To someone who can see truly, they will notice that the person is acting a role or living in a personality construct. But if you ask that person if they're being authentic, they would probably tell you that to the best of their knowledge, they are being authentic. Because they've been living and existing in a role for so long that they have forgotten the source of who they are. Which is really what I mean by authenticity. Now, a lot of people who are stuck in a role or a certain level of suffering would say, what's the point of authenticity? I mean, so what? I'm being authentic, big deal, What's in it for me, right? And I would say that's a good question. The truth is that people underestimate the power of authenticity. The fact that when you are sitting in your most authentic self, every single form of pleasure and fulfillment inside you becomes heightened. Every layer, or let's just say, every level of depth that you achieve in authenticity, anytime you go deeper into that, there are gifts that make themselves obvious to you. Now you might be asking, why don't people just go to authenticity then? Why isn't that their set point, right? And I would say it's because they're avoiding the pain that is waiting there as soon as they stop the distraction and the story of the ego. A person who is restless, constantly having to do things, constantly doing this action, that action, having goals and achievements. They're living this whole life of achieving, right? Sometimes they have anxiety underneath all of that is driving this overwhelming doing. And the minute that they stop achieving, they're forced to come face to face with that anxiety or that boredom. And they assume, because it's not pleasurable, that this is a problem, and then they jump back into the story again and play this game of avoidance. But if you're on the spiritual journey and you wish to delve deeper, you don't fall for that trick of anxiety or boredom or whatever is waiting there when you halt and stop all movement. Movement of the mind, movement of the body, avoidance of all sorts of things. When that pain hits you, you realize that it is nothing more than a veil. And when you truly meet it, when you're there with it, in your truest authenticity, with no story to buffer you, no ideas, just being there with it, it dissolves. And as that dissolution takes place, you are transformed. Some of you may be hit with highs and elated experiences that you never knew were possible. That's what happened to me. These crazy, unbelievably beautiful experiences started to hit me. Every time I sat through a layer, then another wave of divinity would come to meet me as a reward. And some of the layers of suffering are quite thick. Sometimes it takes a bit of time before the reward comes to you, but if you continue to meet it, just like the sunshine meeting an iceberg, eventually the ice will begin to melt. Your truest self is the sun, and the heat of that sun will melt the suffering within you. You just have to take moments to stop the diversionary tactics, right? The distractions of life where you're running around and doing the things that are legitimate for survival and they're great for achievement and having all these superficial great ego experiences. They are all great, but they will never free you from the suffering within. And the suffering within is destroyed in your authenticity, in your weakness and your strength, in your flaws and your perfection. Just you meeting truly, naked before your suffering, is all that it takes. Remember, this spiritual journey is not about the ideas of perfection. It is about the fact that who you truly are is already perfect. That source from where you came from that is within you is already perfection. And as that meets your life, it brings perfection into it. So the underestimation of authenticity causes so much suffering. But this is where your power is. I'm not sitting here as a perfect human being. I'm sitting here as perfectly authentic, right? This is what will free you from suffering. Not any role, spiritual or otherwise, not any idea, just the truth of your natural state. You are not what you think. You simply are that. And that is the healing balm for everything in your life. So return to that. regardless of the obstacles and the sufferings and the things that you encounter. As you meditate, fall into the most authentic self. The place within you beyond idea, beyond limitation, beyond even the restriction of your own identity. And this is where the magic happens. I hope this helps you on your spiritual journey. Take care for now.
Are you interested in working with a spiritual teacher in a formal setting? Well, perhaps the Wisdom Life School is for you. If you're interested in checking out what the Wisdom Life School is all about, just go to aratima.com.